Welcome to another fun episode of the Lifestyle Practice Podcast. You got a fun lineup again, two hosts in back-to-back episodes where we're kind of talking through some of our experiences. So today we are flipping the script, and I, Derek Williams, am interviewing Steve Vandegraff. So thank you for being here, Steve, taking time out of your daily schedule.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Derek. Is that a tennis shirt or is that a golf shirt this morning?
It's golf. It's a Callaway polo.
Oh, very nice. You seem like a Callaway guy.
Do I? I don't know what a Callaway guy versus Nike versus Titleist is. I'm not that experienced, so maybe that's
More
what a
than me.
Callaway guy is.
A poser, yeah.
So I'm excited to talk through this because you and I had somewhat similar experiences, but yours at the same time was pretty different. So I'm excited to hear your perspective and like what was similar between our experiences, what was different. So why don't you first give us kind of just like a quick synopsis of like what well, okay, let's go back further. Let's first start at when did you first get the idea of doing something different other than, you had your timeline. We talked through all of that as far as financial independence, selling the practice, and doing something different. When did you first get the idea of doing something like traveling, and how did you start to build out that vision or idea of what it would look like?
Yeah, so we talked about timeline 2 episodes ago. And for people that are just joining, if you want to hear the preparation for kind of these adventures that Derek and I went on, that's kind of how we made it possible in that episode 2 times ago. So listen to that. But basically, once my wife and I had kind of a date, I don't know if you want to call it like a freedom date or a goal where we would just have independence and flexibility to do what we wanted, we knew we wanted to travel in some way to explore and get away. Dentistry is awesome, but it's hard to take extended time away from your job. I was always kind of jealous of a couple siblings of mine that work remotely. And I always thought if you can work remotely, you can work from New Zealand just like you can work from here, or you can work from wherever, right? And so the idea of having nothing to tie you down to a specific area was exciting. I would say it really materialized 2 or 3 years ago when over spring break we went to Europe for 2 weeks, just kind of like a vacation that people normally would do, but we just loved it. And I mean, every day was just so fun, so new, so exciting to go out and learn and just see new stuff. So we thought, it could be real. What if we just lived this way? After we finish up at the practice, we could just do this without a finish date. So I would say it started probably about 2 or 3 years ago when we made more concrete plans as to what we wanted to do.
Yeah, so we talked about that. Now I remember, you mentioning that experience. What was it specifically about that experience that made you feel like, oh, I want more of this? Did it have to do with what your kids were experiencing or your own experience of a different country, a different culture? Was it just the newness of things? Like what was it that made that experience so strong?
Yeah, great question. Probably a couple different things. I would say the biggest was just the fact that for 2 weeks, we were all in this little Airbnb or two. I think it had 2 bedrooms. I have a large family, so we just like squeezed in, and I didn't have work next Monday for a couple weeks in a row. And that was just such an exciting feeling of we're just our own little family unit, kind of out on the other side of the world, just doing our own thing with nothing, like no restrictions, no expectations. We just get to explore every day. So that was the biggest thing. And then yeah, just seeing the capitals of Europe. I'm kind of a bit of a history nerd, but it was just super exciting and fascinating to see cathedrals, old cities, old stuff. I just really like old things. And to do with my kids. That's when we seriously started planning. And it was really fun.
So it almost sounds like the feeling of the freedom was the most exciting or different feeling, and that maybe somehow like kind of the stars lined up. Like you, I would like to remind our listeners that your major in undergrad was history.
Oh yes, it was a bachelor's of arts in history, Derek. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's very definitely not traditional. So, I think how much, I don't know, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I would be curious to hear your thoughts on like why was your undergrad degree in that? Were you anticipating something different? You know, do you have this natural interest in history or philosophy or, you know, those types of things that's a little bit more uh, the arts, the side of things. So, talk a little bit about that and how did that play into your
I'm
experience?
very philosophical. Yeah, I really have a deep love for the arts. No, I don't
You
know any.
are.
You're so funny. No,
No,
I just
you're always reading like I feel like every time we're talking, you're always like bring in some context from some person that's shared a certain idea or a historical situation where something occurred. So, you know, I think you got to give yourself credit. You're a very well-rounded person when it comes to having world events and a lot of these different things playing into your current vision of how you experience the world, no?
wow, that's very generous of you. I just liked it. I mean, I'm not a voracious reader, but I enjoy reading, and I mean, here we are on a podcast talking about business and self improvement. I kind of like other topics oftentimes more than just business books where ideas come from. They're just exciting things to learn about. They make zero money, but I think just being able to chase ideas or learn about the world or how we fit in it, obviously, those are just kind of cool things to do. And at least for us on that trip, Europe's just like a super old place. It's kind of where a lot of our ideas and kind of our worldview comes from. So it was just kind of fun to go back into time a little bit. And that's why we chose that area. We were wondering if we should do other areas of the world like Asia or Australia, but my wife loves Europe. She's been there before, so she took me and it turned out to be the right place.
Yeah, you're still talking about that 1 2 week trip, right? Like
Yeah.
introductory trip, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really fun trip. I mean, we've done other fun things, but that one particularly, I mean, probably because it was just so long, it was really cool. A little tip to people who go on trips or just in life is anytime we go on a trip as a family, it's exciting and I think it's fun to enjoy the anticipation as you approach like a holiday or something like that. But I intentionally, like right before, I just artificially set my expectations super low. Like, this is going to be a really long airplane. The kids
It's
are
gonna
just going to,
suck so
this is
bad,
going to
this
be the
whole thing.
worst. So, like, I don't even care what happens. I'm not going to see any like historical side or anything special. I'm just going to enjoy being with my kids when we're walking on the street or when we're sitting in the airplane. And um, I had a really low expectation for everything, and it made everything just like awesome. So,
Was that personal? Was that intentionally to try and create a good experience, or was it partially because you were thinking like you were thinking honestly in a way, like, oh man, it's going to be a lot of work. You know, we're going to be in a foreign place. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable.
yeah, a little both, Or I think lots of times when you want to do something, but you know, you're still a parent, and it's like just keep your focus on the family and the kids, and then if you enjoy a little piece of it too, it'll be great. And it turned out we all just had a blast.
Yeah, really cool. So, last question on this like introductory trip. What was the experience like for your kids? Like, okay, so it's a 2 week period. Was it their first time like really kind of experiencing another country and culture?
Yeah, I would say so. Like it was like an overnight flight, big trip. We got out and the signs were all in other languages. Food was all different. And that was, that's what kind of makes it fun too, is the novelty. So overall, they loved it. I mean, for listeners that have young families, I know a lot of the dentists we work with are kind of like around our age and have younger families. I think kids travel great. Like kids do really well with new stuff, getting out of the house. So yeah, I think it's a super fun thing to do with kids. I mean, you guys were in a trailer for years and your kids just kind of came to realize that as the new normal, like the new home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so this trip was what this was 2023. Remember what
24.
month?
So last year we pulled the trigger. We got my practice ready for sale. Put it up in April, I think, for sale.
No,
Uh,
sorry, the 2 week introductory
oh
trip.
yeah, yeah. That was 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I think
Gotcha.
20.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm just trying to kind of like build the timeline. You had this experience, and that's what kind of like lit the fire, that gave you a new idea for something. And I'm curious to hear kind of the lead time, how your planning of the trip matched up with the planning as far as the practice sale and everything. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. So we knew we wanted to do something when we sold our practice. We had kind of lined up last year to sell the practice. It sold in August. I think I had an LOI signed in June, and we were just deciding, I think it was in May or June, what are we going to do when we sell? Should we, our plan, kind of like you, is to move back west by family. Both of our parents live here. So we can kind of join our family, or we could just kind of be crazy and just move abroad. And we thought pretty hard about it. We thought what our kids would feel about it. We knew a couple of our kids would probably be hard to buy in first, but we just thought this is like, this is our time. Like, I don't think there's ever another time in life where we're going to be able to just like leave. In the future, our kids will be older in high school and stuff, so it'll be hard. In the past, we've always had a practice or been in dental school. So this is kind of our opportunity to do a really long, extended, like live abroad type thing. And when we kind of looked at it that way, this is our one time. Whenever you have one time in your life to be able to do something or have some experience, you need to take that experience and make it happen. Because in a decade, you'll be older. A decade before, you were poorer. Like there's certain experiences at every time of life that you can only have right now. And we're like, this is a right now type experience. So it was kind of definitely rushed at the end, like trying to get everything to ready. I remember we sold the practice. I had a week, or I worked a couple weeks to help the new owner come on and kind of show him the ropes. And then after I was done with him, we had a week to get our house up for sale, to sell our cars, to sell like all of our belongings. And it was a hectic week. So we were like painting the house and trying to sell everything. We ended up like just moving a lot of our stuff out into the driveway and put up a sign and just said, everything is free from our home. Just come and take it. Right. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, like we sold most of our furniture, but everything else, we just like put it out and
Set
then
it out.
stuff some stuff in a storage shed. We were like really popular for a week. Like all of a sudden, we all of our neighbors like liked us for the first time. But yeah, we did that, and then we. I've shared the experience before, but we basically gave every kid a backpack, put in a couple pairs of clothes, a book, and then we brought like a laptop, and we each had a backpack, and then we drove east to Atlanta, got on the airplane, and basically flew off. We bought one-way tickets, so we left at the end of August, and we bought one-way tickets. We were landing in Ireland first, and then we didn't have a return date. We said we'll be here at least to the end of the year. If we want to go longer, we can. But some of the adventures just is not having a timeline. We're just going to go experience things a day at a time, a week at a time. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. So some of it was to your question. Some of it was planning and really like intentional organization, and then a little bit like there was definitely an element of like we're just going to be crazy and literally leave everything and sell everything and just go.
So, okay, so you leave, you go to Ireland. How far ahead do you have planned? Is it like 1 week at a time or like a month at a time?
Yeah, my wife, she's just super planner. Mindy. She loves planning trips and everything. So I don't know if we had like an agreement, but we kind of settled on like a division of duties where she would just plan where she wanted to go. And I thought that was fun because, she supported me these last 7 or 8 years in my practice. And now it's kind of like, I don't have a practice anymore. You get to plan things, when we come home, you get to decide kind of what you want to do. So it's kind of fun to support her in that. But we were planned out, I would say 6 weeks out at a time. And then after a couple of weeks, we would just pull up Google Maps and be like, okay, where's the next flights? What are some cool opportunities? And we would just kind of plan it as we went.
Wow. Okay, so where talk about like a few of the first places. How long were you in Ireland? Where did you go after that?
Yeah, yeah. So it was really fun. We kind of settled on a rhythm where we would spend like 5 to 7 days, usually about a week, in one spot. So we flew into Dublin, and we spent like 5 days in Dublin, and you did all the things like river dance and like Irish museums and stuff. And then whenever we were in a city center, the last few days we would go out into the country. So we would rent a car, and then we went and did, for example, the west coast of Ireland. So like the pretty cliffs and the green hills and the sheep and all that. And so we kind of would go to a city center for 4 or 5 days, and then we would go off into the country for a few days for each place we went to. So it was kind of like, metro cultural fun things, and then kind of like nature hikes, outdoorsy the other time. And we basically did that almost with every place we went to.
Was there any thought like, okay, which countries are safe enough to go to? Which countries already speak English that would make it less of a barrier? Like, how much of those types of thoughts played into it versus like just what is there culturally to see in this country or area?
Fun question. Yeah, we didn't really think those things. We were just like, what sounds exciting? Like, it's kind of fun, like not being like Google languaging everything. I was such an idiot. I was like, I could probably learn a couple phrases and how to get around in each place. Like, this is stupid. I couldn't do. I was like totally that American foreigner that had no idea, how to say or get along with anything. But that just made it so fun. Was just figuring out where to go, and everyone was super kind. They thought we were the weirdest thing, like this group of Americans walking around with all these little kids. But that made it really fun. I mean, everywhere we went was pretty safe. So basically, kind of whatever tickled our excitement bone at the moment, we would just go to the next place.
Yeah, like you and I both have big families, a lot of kids. So, you can go almost anywhere in the United States and you get looks from people. And I would imagine that in Europe, it's relatively similar, maybe even more so because
Yeah.
of like the just not very common at all to have more than like one or two kids. Did you experience that?
Yeah. Yeah. It was some of the places we went to, we were just like looking for kids because like we were the only ones with any. And then we saw a family that had 3 kids, and we're like, wow, look, there's another family over there. I think it's just culturally a lot of smaller families. And then we ended up in Egypt, and then we saw a family that had like 6 people on one motorcycle. And we're like, yes, okay, this is a good fit here. But yeah, that's kind of what we did. I mean, our general plan was we left, at the end of summer. So we kind of started in Northern Europe, Ireland, Scotland, and then we just kind of worked our way south. Just as it got warmer, we got closer to the Mediterranean. So, because we're always just walking the streets. And so we wanted weather wise to be able to get around. So as the year went on, we just went farther south pretty much.
So, Egypt connects to Europe?
Egypt's in Europe, Derek. No, um, it was cool. We were kind of looking for about a month out. We're looking for our next place, and then it's cool. You just pull up Google Maps and say explore more, and it'll just show like a little dollar sign next to every city how much it costs to fly there.
Really?
And
That's
yeah,
cool.
really
I haven't
fun.
done that.
Yeah, do it. It'll help you go on unexpected trips. It's really fun. Anyways, and we saw Egypt, and I think I shared this before too. But once you get at least to Europe, I don't know about other like continents, but once you get there, there's so many little flights to other countries that are like dirt cheap. So like when we flew from Scotland to I think Amsterdam, like our kids, they were €2 each, and we were both like my wife and I were 29. So I mean, there's some
No
subsidy.
way.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Egypt, we like flew to Egypt for really cheap. We flew from Egypt to London for $29 a person.
No way.
They're
Oh my
just
gosh.
yeah. Once you get there, there's these little Ryanair like charter flights that are just super cheap. So it made it really fun for us.
Wow. Okay. So what all right, let's zoom out a little bit. How long total was your travels?
I think about 4 or 5 months. So We left right at the end of August, 1st of September, and we came back a little after New Year's.
Okay, so can you list out do you have like a list of countries handy to just like say, okay, here's all the ones that we hit?
Here, let me pull out my encyclopedia map here. No, I mean, we did like, I think 9 or 10. Ireland, Scotland, then we did just kind of south. So we went Netherlands, France, Switzerland, Italy, Greece, Egypt, and then we went to London and Prague at the very end. So I think it was like 9 countries or something. It was
Yeah.
kind of it was kind of fun. We gave each of our kids one country to make a little memory video of, and then my wife's really smart. She got 9 little canvases and had each of the kids paint their country, and then we put frames on them and put it on the wall. Try to kind of help create a lot of memories and like tie them a little bit to their country. So it
Yeah,
was really fun.
that is cool. So for me, like my travels were states and regions of the United States. And so over time, like I kind of got a feel for what it's like to be in a certain region. What was your experience like going from country to country? Did it feel like, I guess the things I'm wondering are just the geology, the landscape of the different countries? Did it feel relatively more similar than you thought? And then also just like the feel of the country. Like a lot of times we just think of countries being so different and unique from each other. I'm curious, in your experience, did that hold true where there were things that were so unique, or did it feel like, oh, this is actually relatively similar, but there's a little bit of a change in this way?
Yeah, cool question. I mean, it's easy for us to like just say Europe and think of some monolithic like group, right? But it was very impressive how profoundly diverse every area was. I mean, you go 60 miles and it's like a new nation with their own language and their own history. Like literally, you could drive an hour in any direction. I was so impressed how many different languages and cultures and like countries are just all right next to each other, but still maintain like their unique like cultural background. I mean, there's a lot of things that are consistent among lots of countries in Europe. You could kind of generalize and say they have a slower, maybe a little slower pace of life. They kind of value recreation and downtime more. There's not as much rush as there is in our culture, but yeah, there was just always a unique new culture to experience and see.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really cool.
Other
So,
things, other
yeah,
things
go
that
ahead.
are kind of consistent is there's no dryers in Europe.
Oh, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, there's no like garbage disposals. Like the garbage cans are all the size of a shoebox. We realize how convenient we have it in the States. There's so many little things that they just didn't have over there that we weren't prepared to experience. And it made it really, really fun. But like I mean, we were in a spot for 3 or 4 days and we would do laundry and we would be hanging out our socks and like it's got to dry in 3 days. There's no Costco. We can't order groceries. I mean, every time we got to a place, I would go out, get all the kids situated, and I'd find some little shop and I would do like 3 or 4 grocery trips because we don't have a car. So I would just carry grocery bags like half a mile. And I'd sometimes need to go to a couple different stores because they're all just like these little corner shops. There's no super centers or anything like that. So that was a really fun part of the trip too, was just living your everyday life, just little things like food, showering. It's just little stuff. It's completely different. And that was really fun to experience that.
So I'm curious, do you feel like that plays into the mindset? It almost sounds like when you're talking about slower pace of life and like there's, I don't know, to me it kind of sounds like less foresight. Like there's less like, grind because this is where I want to be in 10 years or something like that. And more like, hey, let's just enjoy today. Do you feel like that plays into the mindset and people like that you could kind of feel that? Or is it just simply a cultural difference?
I would say so. Yeah. It's not like they're like, oh, this is the most efficient way to do this, really maximizing our production by having this teeny little road instead of a freeway like everywhere, right? But yeah, I think they just value tradition and things the way they were, and They're less excited to change things in the name of efficiency or output. And that's why people go there. It's just a beautiful place rather than
So,
go ahead.
I was so no freeways.
Few freeways, yeah. I mean, there are in the major centers, but it's not like the US where there's these massive freeways that just connect you conveniently to anywhere you want to go.
Wow, I never really thought about that. I guess that makes a little bit more sense why they would have like shorter flights to all these
Yeah, shorter
places.
flights, more passenger trains. But like when we would rent cars, like driving in Europe was kind of fun too. Like you'd be like, there's often just like one little alley, and you'd drive down it and then a car's coming. So it's like, okay, well, we got to back all the way up or they have to back all
No
the way up.
way.
Yeah, narrow roads. It's just like really quaint and charming rather than, bureaucratic and planned.
It's almost like there's barriers in place to growth and development, and they are actually totally fine with them being in place because it preserves the way that it is and has been for so long.
Yeah, yeah. Like in Rome, it was funny. They were trying to build a new subway tunnel to connect this massive city with other suburbs. And they've been doing it for 20 years, but they can't because every time they dig, they just find more ancient ruins and they need to excavate them. They're not going to blast through them. So it's just like this decades long process just because there's so much cool stuff under the ground back there that
Wow.
you can't just bulldoze through and create a new byway.
Wow. That's fascinating. Oh my gosh. You had to have just been like in heaven, like with just the history of everything.
Yeah, it's such a fun, beautiful place. It was really cool too because we kind of went back in time almost. We spent some time in the United Kingdom, which is 300 or 400 years ago. That was kind of where our country and culture, in many ways, came from. And then we went over to France, and there was so much medieval architecture and art and all that stuff. And then we went to Rome, which the Roman Empire, and then we went to Greece, which preceded that, and then we went to Egypt. And it was almost like we were just going back in time and got to see all the great empires in chronological order almost. It's really it's a really cool thing to do. I don't know if you could take your RV through it, Derek, but I think you'd love experiencing some of that in some way too.
Did you have the foresight to look at it that way, or did it just end up that that's the path that you took and it just kind of ended up being like
Yeah,
that?
it just kind of ended up like that. Yeah.
So does that forgive my lack of history? Is that exist that way because of the migration? That's how it happened, and so the older ones are like more southern.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, you could maybe say that like, you got your cradle of civilization in the Mesopotamia area and it just kind of spreads east or west and north. So maybe you could say that. I'm not totally sure though.
Hmm. Okay, how did this affect your perception of the world? Did you feel more or less connected to other countries? Did it make you feel more connected as far as globally? Did it make you feel more comfortable traveling to other countries in the future? What was the impact that this all had on you as far as your mindset in that way?
Yeah. Fun question. I would say both. As far as traveling goes, we never felt unsafe. There were a couple times where we like missed a train or we got in like on a flight at like 1 in the morning and we're trying to find our way through a dark city, but we never felt unsafe. It was awesome in that regard. As far as connecting with other people, almost everyone was very gracious and helpful. There were some people that thought Americans were boisterous and loud, and we probably confirmed their stereotype in many ways. Um, but on the whole, people were just very good. There were lots of people that we shared Airbnbs with. We were in a hostel together with people, and it was just awesome to see people with different languages, different backgrounds, completely different aims in life, but we all connected. We were all travelers in a way. At the same time, for me personally, I felt very not disconnected, but very small. It was so cool to see months and months of new countries, new people that live a different way, to see all this old stuff of people that have lived thousands of years before me, but they had all these really human experiences like me. I'm just like one little person that just has a little time on this big world. And so I guess that maybe makes people maybe feel uncomfortable or anxious or nihilistic in some way. But for me, it was like, this is just a wonderful opportunity that I get to experience all of this, even if it wasn't in a beautiful place like abroad. It's just a wonderful chance to just live our one life, go off and do kind of crazy, wild things, chase dreams, make mistakes. And I mean, I think you can have those experiences without selling your practice and moving away forever. But at least for me, it was helpful to step away from, in what many ways was like a grind, not a grind like every day. Like we still had a great lifestyle as a dentist, but it was fun to just have no ties whatsoever and just kind of experience life and have a big picture perspective of, I've got maybe 70 years, I've spent 35 of them. Like, what am I going to do with the rest of my 35? And I can see myself exploring and trying to experience new things to make those other 35 just as meaningful.
Yeah, there's. I remember several years ago reading about a dentist that would purchase a practice, would work for like 7 or 8 years, sell the practice, take 2 years off, and just do whatever he wanted, and then buy another practice,
Hmm.
and basically like a 30 or 40 years cycle of doing that. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I also, when we were in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. What's that? What's the national park there called?
Oh, like
The Smoky
Smoky
Mountains.
Mountains National Park. Yeah.
Yeah. When we were there, we met another family. He was a dentist and he was in between jobs. He basically had like he had finished an associateship. I don't know what happened, but they basically saw like, hey, we've got some savings, we've got some like a cushion. Let's take some time. And so they bought like a little classy motorhome and they took like 6 months and they just traveled and did that and then ended up settling down at their new job. And he basically got his job and interviewed and got the job while they were on the road.
Hmm.
So I thought that was such a cool way where it's like it doesn't have to be that you figure out this whole financial piece and get financially independent and then go do it. There's a lot of different ways. You can have a long career and take several longer trips, like your 2 week trip, or if you're in between and you have the flexibility, you can take the time and go do something longer in between your next job or your next practice. One thing that I think is always good to reemphasize to people listening, like a lot, it's easy to look and say, oh, well, yeah, they made it work because they had this, this, and this. And like, that's just not going to work for me. Get creative, think about what opportunities are in front of you and take advantage of those.
Yeah. Very well put. I agree. I mean, we talk about ownership as the way to go, and it is. But if you are an associate and you never wanted to become an owner, you can just like that guy did, you can take a hiatus between your associate jobs and really enjoy life and have these phenomenal experiences. It's interesting. We settled down, we came back and bought a home a few doors down from us. I have a neighbor, he's a mechanic, and he was asking where we moved from. And so I just went a little bit and described that we were kind of abroad for a while. And he was like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And I shared, he's like, "Oh, I love that country. That was a good one. I love these. You should have gone here." And I was like, "How did you do this?" And he's like, "Oh, I take my daughters every year. We travel at least a month to two per year." And
Wow.
and he's a mechanic and just like a super cool guy, not really money focused at all, but he plans and like prioritizes these trips for his teenage daughters, and they just go all the time, which was so cool to hear. And I think, maybe another thing to add for listeners is, we're talking about like traveling, but like if that's not your thing, that's okay too. But it's important to like really chase what you love, whether it's abroad, nearby, some experience, just some, endeavor or hobby. Prioritize it, like make time for it. You don't have to sell your practice again, or anything like that. You can just prioritize the things you love, whatever they may be, and have these type of experiences right now.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm reading The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. It's his newest book. It came out like in the last few days. And I'm really enjoying it. He talks about Die with Zero, a few different things, and he basically says there's this spectrum where you could save everything and die and not really live life. And on the other end of the spectrum, you could just spend everything as soon as you get it. Neither one of those is ideal, but he says it can be a challenge to find where the middle ground is. The mantra that he proposed was minimize future regret.
Hmm.
If that's what you can think of when you're in that point of having to make a decision on should you spend, should you take advantage of this, or should you save, the thing that you should keep in mind is minimize future regret. And I think that's probably something that would work well in what we're talking about right now. If you consider that, that's going to help you weigh out the differences between putting money away versus doing something that's going to provide you value, memories, or whatever that's a good ROI in that
Yeah,
respect.
that's really cool. Minimize future regret. And if you think about it, what are the things we regret? I don't think anyone regrets saving too much or earning too much. Everyone always regret, or you don't regret like spending a massive amount of money on that really fun thing. You probably look back and think of it as a cool part of your life. So, to minimize future regret, invest in cool experiences now that you can't have later.
Yeah, and if anyone has not read Die with Zero that's listening to it, you should. We've talked about it a good amount, and it's just really good. He lays out a lot of different scenarios and helps you kind of think through different things. So that's a excellent book.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, I mean, talking about that, I would ask, looking back, is there anything that you think, oh, if we would have had this, if we would have understood this, we could have capitalized on this a little bit more? Like, so I guess, is there anything that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
Mm, probably not much. I mean, I would have actually yes, a credit card that works overseas would have been good.
What? Okay, tell me about that. I don't.
No, I didn't think about it, but some credit cards just don't work overseas. So like you have to get the right ones for Europe. And then I closed my practice and my credit card didn't work. And anyways, it was fine, but like there was lots of little, you know, things you learn as a traveler. I would say big picture, if anything, I might have done it just a little bit sooner. We traveled for basically half a year and then we met with our kids. I really like Derek how you discussed in the last episode how it was like a family decision for you guys to go on your trip. We I would say we were trying to do the same thing and we kind of met as a family and I said, this has been awesome. These are the experiences we've had. This is like what we can do next. And we wanted to keep going. And like I mentioned, just kind of trot the globe a little bit. Again, without a practice, you have time. So I kind of laid out a plan of what I thought would be fun. And my wife was on board and she wanted to do some things. But our kids, they weren't as excited as we were. In fact, they wanted to come back, go to school, play on the soccer team, which made complete sense. And if I was in their shoes, I probably would be of the same thinking. So we decided to kind of go along with what they wanted to, and we moved back, kind of settled down. They're in school now. They've got friends. They love it. So we're throwing down, roots for a second time in the new place where we live. But it just made me wonder, like, oh, I wonder if we did this just a little bit sooner, even just like 4 to 6 months earlier, if that would have given us a little bit more time. That being said, it's not like a huge regret. I'm not worrying about that all the time. But for people, who have something they're chasing, I would go for it sooner than later. Even if you can't do the full trip, do like when you went on your 2 year RV trip. I remember you were doing weekends, like 3 or 4 days, little trips to kind of build up to it. And I would say start now, even if it's in smaller ways towards the stuff that you really want to do. Don't wait.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I think even if, yeah, exactly what you said. I'm not even going to say anything else because I think you said it perfectly.
I'm
I
curious about
Go
you
ahead.
though. Are you so you guys have been established for a few months now. Are you missing it? Do you want to get back out on the road? How's your transition been?
Overall, it's been great. It's different. Like the leash is just way longer as far as the kids. They all have friends. We have friends, their friends over at our house like almost every day. And so that's a lot of fun. They have long-term friends that they have not really ever had. And I think they're enjoying that quite a bit. Um, we have a lot of fun things at our house. We're closer to family. So there's a lot that is still new to us that we have not really experienced while our kids have been growing up. So overall, it's very positive. I think there's times when we miss the togetherness and
Hmm.
we have to be a little bit more intentional to create that. So every Sunday, we plan to just have like an hour or two where we just sit in the living room. We have no agenda of what to talk about. We just planning to be there. And who has a thought? Like this last Sunday, one of the kids had a question that was like human development. And we talked about the development of a fetus and then how that develops. And then they asked about other animals. We ended up talking about evolution. So it's just a time that we show up, have conversations. And even this morning, I was talking to my wife about how do we get some a little bit more one-on-one time with each kid. So now
Yeah.
I'm off on a tangent, but overall, it's been very positive. It's just different, and we're having to think how do we keep some of those aspects that we loved while we are on the road now that we're settled down.
Mm, yeah. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's anything else that you want to add on the travels, I would be curious to hear your experience settling down. I mean, you've been very focused and, work hard, spend time with family. Now you have probably less restrictions as far as like number of work hours and stuff as far as demands. How has your life changed since then? What does your week look like now on like kind of a weekly basis, and what have been pros and cons of that?
Yeah, I would say life's great now. There's a lot of things that are easy compared to last year. I'm not doing laundry in a hostile shower. I'm not trying to find where my family's next meal is going to be, right? Which sometimes was the case when we were just like, out with our backpacks. So there's a lot more convenience now. I would say overall, the family's doing great. Kids, like you mentioned, are very involved with wonderful, positive things and friends. And then as for me, it's been fun to be able to put just more time into coaching, working more with dentists, not just on ownership, but I've had more time to help with acquisitions and dentist finding practices. So I would say kind of expanding the coaching and helping more dentists has been really enjoyable. And then it's been kind of fun to have a couple personal goals. I just read a lot more than I ever have before. I enjoy exercising every single day, a lot more consistent with it. So there's a lot of conveniences that come with more time. But I would say overall, the mentality hasn't changed. I'm trying to be just present in the day where I am. We still have some fun things kind of down the road that we're still chasing. It is a little different not having a really big thing to work towards. Dental school, it's like we're going to graduate. After that, I'm going to get a practice. After the practice, I'm going to, hit these types of numbers or work these types of days. And now that that's gone, there is this weird, I don't know if you want to call it a void, but there is something that's kind of missing, a level of like productiveness or something to chase. And so I'm I'm feeling that with other smaller chases and pursuits, but it's something I guess I'm still learning. I mean, I think you're ahead of me on this, so maybe you could give me some advice after this podcast, but that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's fun. There's not very many people in life that get to go through that experience, and it does give you a little bit more insight into. We all have heard this quote by Jim Carrey where he's like, "I wish everyone could be rich and famous so that they would see that it's not the answer to their dreams and what they're looking for." You start to get a little bit of an insight on why sometimes celebrities have pretty miserable lives because they get to this point where they can kind of do anything, but they've been used to working so hard to pursue something, and now the lack of a challenge there is some sort of a void, and so learning to find what is engaging to you and push yourself in different ways can be hard at times. But I think it's something that we're very fortunate to be able to go through.
Yeah. So one of our first world problems that we have so many of.
Yeah. Last question I'll ask you, because I know everyone is going to want to know the answer to this. It's been over a year now since you've done clinical dentistry. Do you miss working with your hands? Do you miss patient interactions, working with your team? What are your thoughts?
It's funny you say that. Last night, my 13-year-old, she's getting ready for braces and she had to have teeth removed. So I ordered forceps and anesthetic and everything, and we laid her on the table, and I took her teeth out at home, and I was like, oh, that was really fun. Maybe I want to do this some more sometime. um, so a little bit of the hands-on stuff,
Please
but
tell me you got some pictures of this.
no, I don't think so. But
Oh my gosh.
you know, so I don't miss managing and running an office really at all. I do miss like small patient interactions, helping nervous people, telling people they're going to be all right, that they did a good job, the dentistry itself. I miss that. I really enjoyed that, but I'm just doing things now that I like more. So it's kind of fun. We talk about traveling. We're going to be doing a trip over Thanksgiving to South America doing dentistry, humanitarian work. So I was excited about that. And then I was like, oh, wait, I haven't picked up a handpiece for a really long time. I wonder if I need to do some refresher or something. But
You can't be
over,
any worse than you did as a dental student,
yeah, that
right,
was,
on the
there was some.
humanitarian trip.
We should share those stories sometime. Let's just say I was very green compared to you guys and everyone else. But yeah,
Oh no, I've got my own stories that I've shared and still get made fun of by my dad. So yeah, that'd be fun. We should do an episode hearing about your experience after that. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's kind of fun doing episodes together. We always used to, when we first started the podcast, we were always talking together, and we've kind of done our individual episodes, so it's kind of fun to chat together, get back on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. This has been a really enjoyable podcast, even for me to have the conversation. So, really cool hearing your perspectives. If people want to get a hold of you,
Oh yeah.
how can they reach out to be able to ask more?
Well, please join our Facebook group, TLP Podcast. It's a private group. You're going to get great. Just kidding. The podcast Facebook group. Just join it if you haven't. Join it. There's a lot of great insight there. Steve at thelifestylepractice.com, Derek at thelifestylepractice, and Matt at thelifestylepractice.com. Also, jump on our website. We've mentioned it before, but you can submit a query with information about yourself and your practice, and either Derek, Matt, or I will weigh in. And that's a great way to connect too.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care, and we will be talking to you soon.
All right. Have a great week. See you, Derek.